So to come into this, you're gonna start in a supported bridge. So we're gonna start in with this shape today. So start with bridge, walking your feet about hip width distance apart. Take your heels in close, and then you'll pick up your hips to slide your prop underneath. So you want your prop to be on the sacrum, the fused bones of your spine. So you don't want the prop too high up, or you'll notice that it actually creates a really big curvature in my spine, or you're trying to actually take that curvature out. So if it feels like a lot for the low back, those of you especially with low back issues, take the prop a little bit lower, bringing your hands onto your belly. Think about drawing your hip bones towards your bottom two ribs, and that'll give you that slight pelvic tuck. So you're gonna be engaged through the core in this shape. And then once you feel comfortable, that sits okay with your low back, you are welcome to stay here. You can always take the feet wider and knees towards one another. That can also be nice for low back. Or you can play with extending your legs out. Those of you that do have some low back issues, this might accentuate that curvature or compression there. So you can try this one, but if it doesn't feel very good, then just come back to feet planted. Okay, at any point you can always take the bolster or the block out. And we're just gonna start in this shape, so really similar to how you would start a practice in Shavasana, but you have that extra lift of the hips. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so allow your eyes to close down. Allow your breath to just deepen. And notice your environment around you. And it might not be the most perfect space. There might be some distractions along the way. There might be some noises or some things that are different than when we're used to being at the studio. But just become aware of them, start to notice what this experience is for you. Okay. And then find some acceptance just of where you've landed. So accepting that maybe this isn't the most ideal place that we've ever landed. Maybe it is. Maybe your space is beautiful and really soothing. But really just finding this level of contentment with where you've landed. And that goes with the internal environment as well. So whether it's a bit of a crash landing onto your mat, or you're feeling like you almost are just landing onto a bed of pillows, whether you're still tired from last night's sleep or you feel energized, to just accept and honor where you are in this moment. Okay. To notice how you're feeling and to let judgment slide away from that. That it's okay to be a little bit tired, worn out. It's okay to feel full of life and have a whole lot of energy. So essentially just landing in this space that you are free to be exactly as you are. That the external environment doesn't determine your experience. That your experience actually comes from within. So we allow ourselves to be content with the environment in which we're in, to find contentedness with ourselves, to essentially find this peace with ourselves for just landing here. Okay. Take a giant breath in through your nose. Feel your rib cage rise up, maybe even belly rises. And then exhale out through your mouth. Let your bones rest heavier. Okay, let's take 2 more breaths just like that. Inhaling through your nose, expanding. And exhaling out through your mouth. Last full belly breath to start off practice. Inhale. Hold at the top in fullness. See if there's room for a little bit more air to be pulled in. And then exhale out completely, even an audible sigh. Gently, if your legs are extended, begin to bend your right knee in. Coming to supported wind relieving pose, right knee in towards your body. Hands can interlace on top of your shin or behind your hamstring. And then left heel begins to slide away as your left leg straightens. Okay, now there's always an option. You can take out the prop if it feels uncomfortable or it's causing any pain or really just causing you to not want to be in this shape. Once you've landed here, you can then kind of take your right knee more towards the side of your rib cage and then find some activation through the left leg. So instead of just having the left leg hang out, press your left heel towards the top of your mat, almost like you're lengthening your upper thigh bone away from your hip socket. Okay. Now, if you are craving a little bit of movement, you can always gently rock your right knee a couple times side to side. Notice the compression in your right hip and then the opposite sensation in your left. And as your right knee draws closer towards the earth, your left leg gets a little bit longer. Okay. So as you inhale, you might come slightly out of that compression. And as you exhale, your knee might drop a little bit further down. Now let's just take one more full breath, just like that. Okay. Keep your right knee bent for a moment, but draw your knee over top of your body, so not off to the side. Slide your left heel up so your left foot is planted, and then begin to extend right toes out to the ceiling. Hands now interlace behind your hamstring or calf, or can you even draw towards your ankle. Now you are welcome to keep that left leg extended, but you can also keep it planted. Planted will give you a little bit more feeling of being grounded. Okay. If you want more sensation, just let the hands rest heavier, but try not to pull into your body, that you want to come into a lengthening that's sustainable. And imagine that each time you come into your exhale breath, your knee draws closer towards your chest. That instead of trying to push the muscles and body into the shape, they're actually just relaxing into that back line, into the hamstrings, into the calf. You might even take a couple of circles with your right ankle. Okay. And this is going to change some of that sensation that you feel along the entire length of the leg. So just keeping that in mind, that what we do with the foot will actually feel up this line of the body, the back line. Okay. Let's pause for just a moment. Bend into your right knee again, and then cross your right ankle over top of your left thigh. Now you're welcome to stay here in figure 4, or you can come into thread the needle and float your left foot off of your mat, knees draw in. If you're coming to figure 4, right hand in between your legs, left hand to the outer edge of your left thigh. As you interlace your fingers, you can help to draw your knees in closer. Make sure that there's a flex in your right foot, so you're pointing your toes up towards your shin. Okay, this is going to support the knee joint. And then if you want to shift this slightly side to side, maybe over to the left or over to the right. And then once you found that place that your body is asking you to just sit in for a moment, to lean into and allow the release to happen naturally, just pause there. Okay. Step away from having to control or do, and just allowing your breath to move you through this. And then if your knees are in towards your chest, on your next exhale breath, you can just gently release your left foot down and then uncross your right leg and release right foot down. Okay, press into your feet, walk your heels in close. Lift up the hips for just a moment, squeeze into the glutes, squeeze into the hamstrings, and then slowly lower yourself back down. This time, left knee draws in towards your body, right leg extends out, supported wind relieving pose. As you draw your left knee more to the side of your rib cage, notice what happens into your right hip. And then can you make this a little bit more active, even flexing into your right toes to extend through your heel. Soft bend into your elbows, just allowing them to melt down towards the earth. Okay. So that you're balancing out this effort and ease. So there's a little bit of effort of the muscles to hold us in the pose, but that we can always find that almost soft side of the exhale breath to really just sink in. Okay. A pretty good indication as you move through your practice, if you are pushing a little bit too deep or too far for the body, is we'll hold our breath. And so breath should always be this constant that we can come back to and just reset. And if we've lost the breath, it often feels like we've actually lost the practice. So know that you can just come back, ease out of the pose, take a couple of deep breaths, honor where you've landed, and just go from that place of steadiness and foundation of your inhales and exhales. All right, left knee will draw back over top of your body. Right heel slides up, plants to give you that foundation that now you can extend your left toes up to the ceiling, hands interlace behind your left leg, wherever is comfortable. And instead of trying to pull, just let your hands rest heavy. The weight of your hands, your leg, and gravity will be enough to lengthen into the back line. Back line running from the bottom of your foot all the way up the back of your calf, hamstrings, and then continuing up your spine, all the way actually into the skin of your skull. Okay. And so each of these muscles actually works together with one another. And so see if you can start from the bottom of your foot and just soften the muscles all the way along until you reach up towards the hips. So allowing for that gripping sensation where we're just trying to hold to just loosen a little bit. Bend back into your left knee. Cross your left ankle now over your right thigh, keeping that soft flex into your left foot. Optional, you can stay here, or you're drawing your right knee in towards your body and then hands interlacing behind your right hamstring, your right toes pointing up towards the ceiling as well. Okay, find that balance that is available for you. Okay. So it might be, for some of you today, you might need a little bit more effort. For some of you today might be about ease, but know that both are always available within the practice, and to just honor how you've landed. And sometimes when we've landed tired, we do just need to rest. But sometimes we also need that drive, a little bit of that push to get our feet moving, to get out of whatever slump we feel like we're in. So if you're just really honest with yourself of what you need, go from that place of authenticity and continue to allow your practice to move fluidly with your own needs. All right, gently you can release a grip of your hands, right foot comes down, left foot plants. All right, you gently wash your knees to the left and right. We're gonna take one more pose on our back. Happy baby. Once again, take your knees into your chest. Reach for inside or outside edges of your feet. Lifting your heels up to the ceiling. Draw your knees down beside your rib cage. You know, you can always take little movements, extending out one leg at a time. You can just pause here. You can always take your peace fingers around your big toe mounds and play with extending out as well. Okay. Notice how those of you that do have the bolster or pillows underneath your low back, how it helps to lift you up so you're finding that slight curvature in the spine. And then we'll gently bring the knees back together. Release your feet onto your mat. Okay, pressing into your feet. Lift your hips up enough that you can slide your bolster out from underneath and then slowly lower back down. Okay, take the soles of your feet together, knees out wide. Hands can land onto your hips or overhead. Let's just take 3 full recovery breaths. Full inhale all the way into your belly. And long exhale. Okay, inhale breath. Allow your chest, your belly to expand. And exhale, let your body rest heavier. Let's take one more full breath just like that. And exhale to release. Take your knees back up through center, knees into your chest. This time hands behind your hamstrings. Begin to rock and roll up and down the length of your spine a couple of times. And then we're going to meet into tabletop. All right, tabletop. Stack your shoulders over top of your wrists, hips over top of your knees. Let's move through a couple of cat-cows. So as you inhale, drop your belly down, lift your gaze, lift your tailbone. As you exhale, curl and round through your spine, tuck your chin towards your chest. Inhale, breath, open up through the heart, through the belly, and then as you exhale, really focus on the rounding, especially with that low back, so tucking your tailbone under, chin in towards your belly button. Let's take one more breath just like that. And then come back to a neutral spine. All right, this one's a little bit different, more strengthening based. It's an isolation of the shoulder blades and retraction and protraction. Okay, so as best as you can, try to find a flat back. Draw your belly button up to your spine, so you're gonna feel your core engaged. And then you just wanna move the shoulder blades. So think about as you press into the ground, separate your shoulder blades apart from one another. And then as you sink your heart down between your biceps, shoulder blades will slide together. So what you're doing is essentially sliding the shoulders back and then forward, back and forward. And you're gonna do this by as you push into the earth, you're gonna feel that lift. As you exhale, think about sinking down. So it's a little bit different, the sinking and the pressing. The pressing is like rooting down to rise. And then as you sink, it's almost just like you're letting your body rest heavy. So just take a couple more of these. As you press into the ground, think about that as creating space in the back of the body. As you sink, that you're contracting into the shoulder blades. See if you can squeeze them together. Let's take one more just like that. Okay, should feel like a little bit of effort, a little bit of work. Okay. Press into the shoulders one more time so they're separated, and then one at a time step your toes back so you're into a high plank. Beautiful. See if you can hold here. Optional to take your knees to the ground. All right, inhale, breath, shift forward, shoulders towards your fingertips. As you exhale, lower all the way down. Elbow squeeze the sides of the rib cage. Nice, you guys. All right, walk your hands out wide. So your hands will actually land off of your mat. Tent up onto all 10 fingertips, like your favorite dessert is underneath your palms and you don't want to squish it. Okay, on your next inhale breath, peel yourself away from the mat. So belly and then heart and then head come up. And then as you exhale, roll your right shoulder forward, look over to the left, right elbow bends up towards the ceiling. Inhale, breath to lift back up through center, and then exhale to twist to the other side. Okay, let's take one more to each side. Inhale up through center, exhale, twist, right elbow or right shoulder down. Inhale back up through center, and then exhale, twist, left shoulder down. All right, inhale, breath, come back up through center. Exhale, release down. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Zip your big toes together. Inhale, breath, press up to a tabletop. And then exhale, send your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Knees can be together or you can separate the knees wide. Okay, as you inhale, think about expanding through the back of your rib cage. As you exhale, allow your body to rest heavier. Okay. We're just gonna take a couple of recovery breaths here. Can you allow yourself to really dive into your inhales and your exhales? Okay, beautiful. Okay, now peel yourself away from your mat, sliding your hands underneath your shoulders, walk your knees underneath your hips again. Begin to turn your hands out to 9 and 3. So you're turning your fingertips out to the edges of your mat until your fingertips begin to land back towards you. So the fronts of your wrists and elbows face the top of your mat. If you feel like this too far forward, you can always take your hands back and soft bend to the elbows so you're not hyperextending the elbow joint. And then just shift side to side, beginning to wake up the fronts of your wrists and forearms. You can just move forward, back. You might even play with taking a figure 8 shape. This is one of those areas that we don't often find a lot of opening in, and our hands and feet are the foundation for our practice, so really, really important to open those up. Okay, coming back through to center pause, and then begin to lift the heels of your hands away from your mat, so you're not stretching out the fingertips. Thumbs will lift. You're gonna sit your hips closer back towards your heels, so you don't have as much weight in the arms. If you want to take this into forearms more, soft bend into your elbows. Okay. And then one at a time, you can release your hands to plant forward. Walk your knees together, big toes together, and then sit your hips back onto your heels. Okay, reach back to tuck under your pinky toes. Those like to be little escape artists. And just take your hands out in front of you and begin to circle out the wrists. Okay, if this is a lot for your knees, you can always take that pillow underneath the backs of your knees, but you still want to get that deep stretch into the feet. It's meant to be uncomfortable. Okay, if you are only moving in one direction with the wrists, switch directions. So this pose is actually called dukkha in Sanskrit, which roughly translates as suffering. So if that correctly describes your experience, know that you're not alone. All right, pause. Take your hands onto your thighs for a moment. Roll your shoulders up and then down your back. And let's just pause here for 3 full breaths. So allowing yourself to be immersed in this experience. Closing into your eyes. Feeling into that sensation of the feet. Even if it feels like they might spontaneously combust, just reminding yourself that you're free to be here. Honoring where you've landed. Knowing you can always shift, but you can also always breathe. All right, walk your hands forward, coming into a tabletop, and then just gently tap that out on the feet, allowing that sensation to release. All right, tuck your toes under, press into your hands, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Should feel nice into the backs of the calves and hamstrings. And pedal out your feet, bending into one knee at a time. Maybe even shifting one armpit more through center as you add in a slight twist. And just find some movement that feels good into your spine. Into the backs of the legs. Notice the back body begin to fire up. So it's not just the legs and down dog. We're actually looking a lot at the spine. So as you press into your fingertips, find that same movement of sliding the shoulder blades apart and then down your back, almost like your heart now is beginning to sink towards the ground. And then on your inhale breath, come up high into the balls of your feet. Ripple forward to a high plank. So think about lifting through the low back. So belly button tucks up towards your spine, mid back, and then upper back. So your shoulder blades are separated away from one another. Exhale breath, lift through the shoulders, the mid back, the low back, and then press into the earth to lengthen the spine. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale breath to roll and ripple the body forward to a plank. And then exhale to lift all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Okay, 1 more breath just like that. Always optional, you can lower onto your knees once you come to plank, and then lift and up and back, downward facing dog. Looking forward, step or hop your way to the top of your mat. Take an inhale breath, halfway lift and lengthen, reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale to fold, soft bend into the knees. Let's take 2 more just like that. So finding your breath, inhale, lengthen. Reach your hips back, head reaching in opposite direction. Exhale to fold. 1 more breath, inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold. Bend into your knees, inhale, breath, sweep your arms all the way up. Stand tall, facing the top of your mat. And then exhale, gather your hands through heart center. Okay, pause, close your eyes. Take your hands down beside you, Tadasana Mountain Pose. You might roll out your shoulders, feet about hip width distance apart. Pick up all 10 toes, and then imagine you place your toes down 1 at a time. Okay, they might all smash down together at once, that's okay, but just mindfully try to take your pinky toes and then ring toes, is that what they'd be called? Middle toes, index toes, and then your big toes down. Okay, now press through the balls of your feet, so just behind your big toe mound and your pinky toe, and then your heel. So you have this triangle of balance. Okay, on your inhale breath, reach your fingertips all the way up, and then exhale, take your hands through to heart center. Shift your weight into your right foot. Begin to pick up your left heel. Draw your left knee up to hip height. Take your hands to interlace on top of your left shin as you draw your left knee in towards your left armpit, left shoulder. Okay, don't worry if you fall out of this, balancing pretty early in class. So just getting a feel for what it is to be standing on that right leg. Okay, and then I know that we can all step back to a high runner's lunge, but can we do so really, really slowly? So find a spot in the distance that's not moving or on the ground. Gently release the grip of your hands. As your hands come up, left toe step back, bend into your standing leg. Inhale, breath. Stack your shoulders over top of your hips. Exhale, take your hands to your low back. So your elbows point back behind you, fingertips to the ground. Now feel that slight sway into the low back. We're gonna take that out as you begin to bend into your left knee. Tuck your tailbone down. You'll feel your hip bones draw up towards your bottom two ribs, and then slow lower all the way down into a monkey lunge. So left knee comes down, and you can untuck the back toes if you'd like. Continue to keep your hands here so that we're not swaying the back now that we've landed here. Still working on tucking our tailbone under. Squeeze into your glutes. Imagine that you're sending your left hip forward and right hip begins to plug back. Then draw your elbows back towards one another. So getting this opening through the chest. And notice if you flared out your rib cage, can you once again knit bottom two ribs, hip bones towards one another? All right, just take one more full breath here. And then as you exhale, hinge forward and release your hands to frame your front foot. Then you can always tuck your back toes, lift your left knee a little bit further back down your mat, and send your hips back as you straighten out your right leg. Optional, if you feel like your hips are all the way back to your heels, we want to avoid that. There's a lot of pressure on your left knee, so you can always slide your right heel further forward. Okay, let's just take a couple of flowy breaths. So as you inhale, think about taking that halfway lift. Lengthen through the spine, flat back. As you exhale, fold belly, then heart, then head. Okay, inhale, breath, roll to a flat spine, and then exhale, belly, then heart, then head. Let's take one more breath just like that. And exhale to soften down, just like a wave. Okay, inhale, breath to lengthen. Pause here. Left hand can always come onto a block or prop if this feels like a lot. Slowly begin to add in a twist. Slide your right hand along your extended leg towards your low back. Optional to extend it up. As you do so, with your hands lying along your leg, think about pulling your right hip back behind you as you press your right heel into the ground. So with your heel grounded, we're lengthening back, which should give you some of that opening through the lateral line of the body. Gently release your right hand down. Bend back into your front knee, low runner's lunge. Hands frame your front foot, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Optional, you can keep your back knee rooted down if you want. As you inhale, string your right fingertips up to the ceiling, and let's take 3 big circles in each direction. So allow your breath to guide you. Exhale, take your right fingertips back and then down to the ground. And then the inhale lifts you away from the earth, so forward and up. Exhale to reach back and down. Inhale, forward and up. Let's take one more full circle in this direction. And then pause at the top and take 3 full circles the other direction. So you're gonna feel a little bit of that spiciness into your legs that are holding you steady here. See if there's room for ease so that you're allowed to be wherever you are, that there's room for you even here. Inhale to come all the way up to the top. Exhale, release your right hand down. Find some buoyancy into that back knee. Step to a fold at the top of your mat. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Bend into your knees. Inhale, breath, reach your arms all the way up. Exhale, hands gather through heart center. Find the corners of your feet once again. So find the triangles. Begin to shift your weight over into your left foot as you pick up your right heel and slowly guide your right knee up to hip height. Flex into your right foot like you're stepping onto a solid platform. And then hands interlace on top of your right shin. Right knee draws into the side of your rib cage. So just like we found on the ground, but now finding standing, a little bit more challenging. Again, I know that you all can step back. So really challenge yourself. Take this nice and slow. You don't have to rush through something that's challenging just to get to the end of it. Trust that you are allowed to move through this. Slow, and steady. Okay, stepping back to your high lunge. Take your hands to your low back again, just so you can begin to feel what happens with the body. And to keep your tailbone drawing down towards the ground, bend into your back knee and slow, lower all the way down. Okay, pause here for a moment. See if you can now play with squeezing your inner thighs. So on top of that cue of drawing your hip bones and ribs towards one another, and tailbone down towards the ground, right hip drawing forward. Can you also now draw inner thighs towards one another and notice what happens with your balance? Maybe even closing into your eyes. And release your hands down to frame your front foot. You can always pick up your back knee and send it further back. Straighten out your left leg as you send your hips. Hips will land about over top of your bent leg so that you have that 90-degree angle. And then 3 breaths with movement. So you can come up high onto fingertips, or always hands can come onto blocks. So you have that space to actually move through the spine. So as you inhale, lengthen, reach the crown of your head forward. As you exhale, fold belly, then heart, then head. Okay, 2 more breaths and just flow with your inhales and your exhales. Okay, feeling into that length of the back line of the body. All right, the next time that you go to lengthen the spine, pause. Press your left heel down like you're trying to create an imprint into your mat of your heel. Right hand stays rooted down or onto your block. Slide your left hand up the length of your left leg and feel your left hip draw back as your right hip presses forward. Optional to stay here, or you can reach your left fingertips up. Here's where you really want to squeeze inner thighs to help with balance. That will also inadvertently square off your hips as you draw inner thighs towards one another. So if that cue of landing your left hip back, right hip forward doesn't really make sense for you, you can always play with just squeezing inner thighs and notice the sensation. All right, release your left hand back down. Bend into your front knee, low runner's lunge. Tuck your back toes to lift your knee. Right hand stays rooted. As you inhale, take your left fingertips all the way up. As you exhale, left hand back behind you and down. Inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale to reach back and down. Like you're drawing the biggest circles that you can, really reach through the fingertips. The next time that you come all the way up to the top, pause, and then take 3 circles in the other direction. Okay, notice if you're wiggling elsewhere in the body. Can you draw inner thighs towards one another to help with balance, to steady? Really press through your feet into the ground to keep your body rooted. The next time that your inhale brings your arm up, release your hand down. And then this time, instead of springing forward to the top of your mat, plant your hands, step your left toes back. All right, walk your right hand, one hand print forward. Roll to the pinky side edge of your right foot, side plank. Left hand can come onto your hip or reach all the way up. I like to crisscross the feet. Optional, you can stack them. Or you can drop your right shin and come into a modified variation of this pose. Okay, squeeze into your glutes to send your hips a little bit further forward because we tend to have the tailbone stick back behind us. All right, let's find the other side. Slowly release your left hand back down onto your mat in line with your right. Turn onto your toes. Now take your right hand back. So right hand's on your shoulder, left arm a little bit more in front. Roll to the pinky side edge of your left foot. Right hand can come up. Play with whatever variation you'd like within this posture. So there's no right or wrong, just honoring what your body needs. I know that plank can feel like a lot, but continue just to breathe. You've got this. Hey. As you exhale, you'll release your right hand down. Walk your left hand back. Inhale, breath, shift forward. From toes or from knees, lower all the way down. Okay. Let's take 3 baby cobras. Hands can stay as they are. As you inhale, lengthen through the spine. Draw your elbows back, crown of your head reaches forward, and you'll begin to lift up. As you exhale, lower back down. Okay, press the tops of your feet into your mat, knees slightly lift. As you inhale, lift up and lengthen. As you exhale, gently release. Okay. Let's take 1 more breath just like that. Inhale to lift and lengthen. And exhale to come back down. Press into your hands, lift up through tabletop. Send your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. Okay, 1 more full breath in. And exhale to release. Okay. Shift forward to your tabletop. Walk your knees underneath your hips. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips up, downward facing dog. All right, right side. From your downward facing dog, inhale, your right toes come all the way up. Bend into your right knee, stack into your hips. As you exhale, take your right knee to your right elbow. Round through the shoulders, so you're pressing to the mat, shoulder blades separate. Inhale, breath, slide shoulder blades together and down your back, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to your nose, tuck your chin into your chest. One more breath, just like that. Inhale up. Exhale, cross your body, right knee to your left elbow. Now you can come into modified plank or falling star. Kick out the right foot so you're on the pinky side edge of the foot. Left arm reaches up. Okay, optional, you can play with floating your right foot off your mat, or you can take your peace fingers around your right big toe and begin to kick into your arm and send your heel further forward. You might be here, or you might be in the bind. Wherever you are, take one more breath. As you exhale, release your hand down, release your bind. Inhale, right toes come all the way up. As you exhale, high runner's lunge. Right foot plants between your hands. Inhale, breath to reach your fingertips up towards the ceiling. Okay, make sure your front knee stacks over your ankle. If this feels like a lot in your low back, take a slight bend into your back knee and think about pulling your hip bones up towards the ceiling. Okay, take a full breath in, lengthen. Exhale, twist over to the right, left hand forward, right arm back. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhale, sweep down and up, face the front of your mat. Exhale, twist over to the right. One more time. Inhale, sweep down and up, and exhale, twist over to the right. Now you can stay here. You can always take this from a monkey lunge. Right hand plants at your low back lumbar spine. So you inhale, just reach your left fingertips all the way up. See if you can soften into your front knee, maybe perch up higher onto your back toes. Inhale, breath, sweep your right fingertips down and up, face the front. Exhale, open up, warrior 2. Okay, heel toe your back foot so it's parallel to the short edge, front foot parallel to the long edge. And then imagine there's a wall behind your right thigh and you're pressing your thigh into that wall or barrier. Okay, arms reach out. Palms face down, gaze follows your front middle finger. Flip your front palm to face up, giving that front leg a little bit of a break. As you inhale, straighten into your front leg. Reach your right fingertips skyward. As you exhale, bend back into your front knee, warrior 2. Again, slow this movement down. So that full inhale breath, press into the earth. Feel the rise through your right fingertips and right side. Exhale, a little bit different, pressing into the earth to sink down. Okay, one more time, root to rise. And then exhale, warrior 2. Okay, a little bit different. Turn onto your back toes. You're gonna meet back into your low runner's lunge. So left hand sweeps down as you pivot onto your back toes. All 10 toes now face the front of your mat, hands reach up. Take a full breath in. As you exhale, bring your right elbow underneath your left. So you're eagling your arms. Now you might wrap once, twice. You can always just reach for opposite shoulders as well. Begin to hinge forward. So your belly is actually floating off of your front thigh. Now you are welcome to pause here, or like we did earlier, find that buoyancy into your back knee. Begin to shift your weight into your right standing leg. Left heel lifts up for warrior 3 variation with eagle arms. Slide your fingertips forward in front of you. Draw your shoulder blades down your back. Squeeze into your glutes to lift your heel. All right, you guys, 2 more breaths. Remember that you're allowed to be here, to find some contentment with where you've landed. Okay, if you are an eagle and your foot is lifted, bend back into your standing leg. Drop the left toes back down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, unwind the arms. Take your hands down to your mat. Slide your back foot up about 1/3 of the way for pyramid. So this should feel like a nice release. All 10 toes will point forward, or you might have your back foot out a slight angle if that gives you a little bit more space just to ground. And then tuck your chin in towards your chest, maybe a slight rounding of your spine. Gonna add in just a little bit more. So notice if your hips are still square to the front of the mat. Can you draw your right hip around? You can always take your right thumb into your hip crease and then press into your fingers to wrap your right head back behind you. Lengthen through the spine. And then adding in that twist, similar to when we did in our half split. Right hand slides up your right leg towards your low back, elbow pointing up to the ceiling. or optional, you can always take your right fingertips all the way up. Squeeze inner thighs to keep the hips square. Nice, you guys. As you exhale, release your right hand down. Turn and pivot to the left edge of your mat for a wide-legged forward fold. Okay. Now it might just feel nice to add in some movements. You can play with some Skandasana movement, bending into one knee at a time. I'm just gonna leave this variation up to each of you for whatever you feel like you need. Hands might wrap around your ankles. They might wrap around your calves. You might just plant your hands. You can add in twists. We're here for about another 3 full breaths. Okay. All right, from your wide-legged fold, begin to turn towards the back of your mat, walking your hands and all 10 toes so they point towards the back of your mat. Plant into your hands. Step your left toes back. All right, one more time, side plank. Walk your left hand, one hand print forward. Turn and pivot onto the pinky side edge of your left foot. Okay, right hand can come up to your hip. You can do this also with your shin down, so left shin down, and just play with floating the right foot. So whether you're down on the shin or your left foot is down, you can play with lifting the right foot. Those of you that want to play with a bind in this shape can take your pinky fingers around your right big toe and then kick into the foot and play with extending up. Okay, this is a pretty challenging pose, so don't worry if you fall out of it. You could also play with the tree variation. Okay, nice, you guys, it looks so good. I love that I can actually see. Okay, we're definitely gonna come back to our high plank. Right hand comes back down, left hand walks in. This time taking a vinyasa from toes or knees. Inhale, rest, shift forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, untuck the toes. Lift through the heart, squeeze shoulder blades. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. Let's take one more breath just like that. Inhale to fill all the way up and exhale, let that go. All right. Inhale, breath, draw your left toes all the way up. Bend into your left knee, stack into your hips. So you exhale, take your left knee, left elbow, slight rounding through the shoulders, push into the earth. Inhale, rest, sweep back up, lengthen your leg. Exhale, knee to nose, contract through the core. Inhale, rest, sweep all the way back up. Exhale, falling star, cross your body to your right elbow, extend out the leg. So you inhale, reach your right fingertips all the way up. Optional, float your left foot. Maybe you take peace fingers around your left big toe of your right hand and kick forward, or you're in your modified plank. Always, always, always options. Draw your belly button into your spine, one more breath. As you exhale, release your left hand or right hand down. Inhale, left toes to the ceiling. Exhale, plant your left foot between your hands. Use your inhale breath to lift up. High runner's lunge. Okay. Take a full breath in, reach up and lengthen. So you exhale, twist over to your left. So left hand back, right hand forward. 2 more breaths just like that. Optional, keep a softer bend into your back knee. Inhale, sweep down and up. Exhale to twist. Inhale, breath, sweep down and up. And then exhale to twist. Option to pause here, or left hand roots at your low back. Right fingertips reach up. Think less about a back bend and more about lift. So you're really wanting to get into this line of the front of the body. So from your quads, up your hip flexors, all the way up through the core to your fingertips. All right, on your next inhale breath, come out of your twist. Left fingertips sweep down and up. Exhale, open up, warrior 2. Pressing through the palms. This time, instead of squeezing inner thighs towards one another, think about drawing inner thighs away from one another. So you're drawing your hips open. Okay, so we want to, instead of squaring the hips close, we want to bring them into external rotation. Flip your front palm to face up. As you inhale, straighten into your front leg. Reach your left fingertips up, lengthen through the left side body. As you exhale, bend back into warrior 2. Sink into your front knee, palms press down. Inhale, breath, slow lift. Feel that pressing into the earth to lift up a little higher. Exhale, take your weight into your mat, almost like your hands are pressing down through molasses. 1 more breath, just like that. And exhale. All right. tricky transition, so you might need to change the stance afterwards. You're gonna sweep your right hand down, turn and pivot onto your back toes. High runner's lunge. All right, left arm underneath right this time, eagling the arms. Begin to wind them up. So notice if you have your shoulders up to your ears, drop your shoulders down your back, forearms away from your face. On an inhale breath, hinge forward. Exhale, you can pause here. Optional to bend into your back knee. Find some lift of your back foot, allowing your plants to save the day. Okay, now really make sure that you're not just hanging out in this pose and waiting for it to be over. Activate into your right glute. Lift the heel up a centimeter more. Draw your fingertips further forward. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. Okay, even if you fall, you can come back in. We're here for 2 more breaths. All right, bend into your standing leg. Slowly, slowly, slowly step your right toes back if you're in that warrior 3. Inhale, we'll come back up, shoulders over hips. Exhale, release your hands down. Slide your right toes about 1/3 of the way up your mat, straightening out both legs and fold into pyramid. Once again, squaring the hips to the top of your mat. So squeeze inner thighs towards one another, especially left thigh towards the right. Pause here with a rounded spine. Allow some lengthening and release to come into your left leg. And then adding in that twist with a neutral spine. On your next inhale breath, you'll begin to lengthen. Right hand stays rooted, or you can take it onto a block or prop. Slide your left hand up towards your left hip, or reach your left fingertips all the way up towards the ceiling. Okay, again, left hip. Often the left hip will want to swing out to the side. So that's where, as you squeeze inner thighs, you're gonna keep your hips in line to the front. Okay, as you exhale, take your left hand down. Find some buoyancy into your knees and step to a fold at the top of your mat. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Bend into your knees. Inhale, breath, sweep all the way up. And exhale, take your hands through heart center. Okay. Make sure that you have some distance on either side. So if you need, you can always turn and step to the long edge of your mat. Okay, whether you're the front or long edge of your mat, roll your shoulders out once or twice, Tadasana mountain pose. Coming into the pose we've kind of been building up to all practice. Begin to take your weight into your right foot. Okay, picking up your left heel. And then begin to pick up your left knee. Hands can interlace on top of your shin. So you might stay here and just work on balance, or you can take your right hand onto your right hip. Left knee draws out towards the side of the room. Now you can play here, you can take your right hand out. You want to play with balance, gaze comes over to the left. If you want to play with hand to big toe hold, peace fingers of your left hand around your big toe, kick out through your left heel, so it's out in front of you. And then find that feeling when we were dropping our heart between our shoulders, that shoulder blades draw together. So instead of rounding forward, I'd rather you have a bend in the knee and a flat back than trying to straighten out the leg. Optional to stay here. You're taking your left foot out to the side, right fingertips reach over. All right. If you fall at night, you can come back in. We're here for just a couple more breaths. Right hand can place back onto your hip. You can slowly begin to draw your left heel or left knee forward. If you have a hold of the foot, take your knee into your chest, give yourself a giant squeeze, and then gently release your foot down. Okay, roll out your shoulders once or twice. You can close your eyes. Take a full breath in. A long breath out. Let's take one more breath just like that. Okay, other side. Begin to shift your weight into your left foot, picking up your right knee to hip height. Optional, interlace your hands on top of your shin. Maybe you open your right knee out to the right side, left arm reaches out. Okay, maybe peace fingers around your right big toe with left hand onto your hip, kicking out through the heel. You might open this up. Again, making sure that when you're in this pose, that you're plugging your right shoulder back. So it's like you're dropping your heart when you're doing that towards the ground, but sliding shoulder blades together. So even if there's a slight bend into the knee or arm. Wherever you are, see if you can find your breath. Honor where you're at. If you fall out, maybe just give yourself a little giggle. When you're ready, we're going to begin to bring this back in through center. Knee comes into your chest, interlace your hands to your right armpit, and then gently release back down. Okay, roll your shoulders once, maybe twice. All right, inhale, breath, reach your arms all the way up. As you exhale, forward fold, let that go. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. You guys, we forgot a plank on one side, so we gotta redo it. Step your toes back, high plank. All right, walking your right hand, one hand print forward, roll to the pinky side edge of your left foot. You can stay here. You can play with lifting the foot. Maybe you take the shin down, lift the foot, but wherever you are, gonna play with taking that left heel away from the earth. Optional, you've actually already done this in standing, so peace fingers around your left big toe. You can play with kicking into the hand. It might even be easier on this side. Okay, whew. All right, I promise after this, it'll be nice and relaxing. You can gently release back down. Let's take one final vinyasa. Left hand down, right hand walks in. Inhale, breath, shift forward. Exhale, lower all the way down. Okay, inhale, breath, just take a baby cobra. And then exhale, let's actually just release down. Okay. If you do have a pillow, this will be really nice for your cheeks. So you can always get a hold of that pillow. Okay, being on your belly, just lift up onto your forearms for a moment. Slide your left arm underneath your body so that your left shoulder will come towards the ground, and then left cheek can come onto that pillow. Okay, right hand can always slide further forward. The more that you roll your right shoulder to the ground, the more opening you're gonna get into your left shoulder and the space between your shoulder blades. Okay. If you want, you can always add in a half or sleeping frog, sliding your right knee up towards the top right corner of your mat. And just take a couple of deep grounded breaths so you're allowing your body to rest really heavy. Okay. Creating some space in between the shoulder blades. That did a lot of work for us in all of the planks, in the standing poses. Just allow your body to rest heavy as shoulder blades separate and close into your eyes. And then to come out of this side, you'll slide your right toes down to meet your left. Plant your right hand underneath or beside your shoulder. Just lift yourself up enough that you can come back into a Sphinx-like pose. So you're on your forearms. You can pause here for a moment or two, and then when you're ready, right arm, right shoulder slides under the body, right cheek to your mat. Optional, slide your left knee up towards the top left corner. Okay, the more weight that you take onto your right arm, the more of that separating of shoulder you're going to find. The more that you roll off, the more the shoulder blades will slide together. So if you want more sensation, just roll more to the left side, maybe even drawing your left knee a little bit further away from your body. Really allow your breath to bring you into this. You don't have to push, just allowing yourself to be heavy. And then left hand will plant beside your shoulder. Left toes draw down to meet your right. You can untangle back through center. Okay, come down onto your belly. You can take your pillow off to the side for a moment. Okay. And you can just take your hands to support the weight of your head. You might gently rock your hips side to side. You can pick up your feet and drop your knees over to the right and over to the left. Okay. We're just gonna pencil roll ourselves onto our backs. If you need a child's pose, that can be really nice for the low back, but otherwise we'll just take knees into chest. So you can gently release tops of your feet down and then roll yourself over with as little movement as possible. Once you've landed on your back, take your knees into your chest Just gently rock side to side. You can always take little circles, massaging out your low back, the muscles on either side of your spine. We're going to close off with a couple of twists. If there's a specific variation that you want to find, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can just gently release the soles of your feet down. Arms come out to a T or a cactus or diamond shape. Press into the soles of your feet. Shift your hips over to the left. Shoulders staying in the center of your mat. Then you can slowly lift your feet up and drop your knees over to the right. Again, it might be nice to take your bolster or pillow in between your legs, or you can even take your pillow underneath your knees. Just make sure that both of your shoulder blades are rooted down and grounded. Eyes can close heavy. Notice how you feel in this moment after all of the work that you've really put in today, that you were still able to just be here. That in any of those poses that were challenging, any of those poses that maybe you felt like you couldn't do, that you still showed up. And that really is enough. Yoga is not about the poses. It's not about getting into handstand or full splits. It's really just about being present for yourself and showing up even when it's hard. And essentially, it's an act of self-care. On your next inhale breath, you can just gently lift your knees back up through center. Reset your hips onto the middle of your mat. And then when you're ready, shift your hips over to the right side and allow your knees to drop over to the left. Okay. Legs don't have to be perfectly stacked. Just allow them to land in a really comfortable shape. Listen for the sounds of your breath. Maybe once again, noticing your space. What's offered to you here. Especially at the end of practice, when we kind of burned off some of that anxious energy, some of the stickiness. We've kind of moved through the roadblocks of our morning, that now we're just given this wide open space to fully be, and perhaps to begin to cultivate what we want to bring with us into the rest of our day. So perhaps just bringing that to mind with a dose of gratitude for everything that you did accomplish, for even just landing on your mat. That's often enough just to be here and show up. And then when you're ready, if you need extra time, of course you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, you can gently begin to draw your knees back up through center. Take any final movements that your body is craving. There's a final pose that you want to take. And you can begin to land yourself in Shavasana. So taking up as much space as you need. You can always take your pillow underneath your knees as you lay back. Walk your shoulders underneath your back, hands beside your body, palms face up. Close down your eyes. Can you give yourself permission right here, right now, to be exactly as you are? To not have to live up to any expectations. Can you send some gratitude to your body, to your heart, to your being? That will never be perfect. We'll probably never meet our own expectations, because those expectations are always changing. that even when we achieve what we think we need, there's always something more. So in this moment, can you just find some contentment for where you're at, and to be proud of everything that you've been through and everything that you're going through, and that you still are showing up for yourself. I'll leave you here in Shavasana with so much love, so much gratitude. Namaste.